I love comedy. Along with modern kid shows, I grew up watching classic slapstick comedy. Of course, my favorites were Buster Keaton, Charlie Chaplin, and of course the Marx Brothers. Though, if you were to ask me to name a female comedian from that era, the best I could give you is Shirley Temple and Lucille Ball. The way I say it makes it sound like those are bad names to list. But those are good names. Those are important names. When I was young, I just thought of them as women who were really good at making people laugh. And I wanted to make people laugh. You know, laughter is such a beautiful thing. And there's a reason why people call it the best medicine. When you laugh, when you have a really good laugh, there's just this indescribable euphoria. When you make someone laugh, when you make them split their sides and bawl, it can give you a deeper connection, one you would have never gotten if you had a normal conversation. So now, be me. Be the young preteen girl who just wanted to make people laugh, who grew up hearing over and over again, women are inherently unfunny. Alright, today we're going to be talking about female comedians. We'll specifically get into the type of exclusion and sexism they face in the profession. Though, my ultimate goal is to show you that female comedians are uniquely suited to be great catalysts of social change despite their patriarchal limits. In order to do that, I think we should first look at some of the history of women in comedy. There's women like Lucille Ball, Mary Tyler Moore, and Fran Drescher, who all had their own successful production companies and led projects that they wanted to. And then you have stand-up performers like Whoopi Goldberg, Tina Fey, Amy Poehler, who have become literal female comedian icons. 'Cause have you seen Mean Girls? There's so many beautiful and impactful things that women in comedy have brought to this world. And the challenges a woman takes in her comedy is so closely tied to the changes we see in civil rights and feminist movements. But then there's that question, that stupid question that just seems to linger on for decades. Are women funny? Of course they are. And pro tip, if anyone says that to you, they're sexist. They are making an assumption of all women. And also consider why they even brought it up. I'll answer that too. They hate women. But enough about that. Let's get to my interview. For me, a primary source is the best source I could ask for. So I'm glad that my dad happened to have someone in mind. Her name is Emily Galati.
Yeah, my name is Emily Galati. I'm a stand-up comic. I performed on Conan, Live at Goth Laughs, a bunch of television shows. I've also written for Patriot Act, and I developed a pilot for Wanda Sykes.
Oh, and along with the other team writers for the Patriot Act, she won a Peabody Award. Within that big portfolio, it turned out that she had done the Shaperwear ad that had stuck with me because of its body-positive message.
Yeah, I think it was, honestly, I think it was perfect. But, that totally changed my whole opinion on shapewear and how I looked at things. And, it forced me to take a real hard look at my own preconceived notions about that stuff. I love that. That's crazy. I didn't know anyone had watched it. So, thank you.
Since I had a seasoned female writer and stand-up comedian answering all my questions, one of the first questions I wanted her to answer was how she got into comedy.
Oh, man. Honestly, I played competitive basketball, and one summer on a really long car ride to California, I was a junior in high school, or going into my junior year of high school. So I was 2001, something like that. I was, 16? Yeah. We played a Brian Regan CD, and I just fell in love with it. I listened to it 20 times that trip, and I came home and became obsessed with stand-up comedy, but I was too afraid to try, and it took a couple years. I started doing improv comedy. I did improv at Second City in Iowa and Chicago, and literally, I moved to Chicago to go to grad school and do improv at those places, but you don't have a life when you're in grad school, so I started just being able to go to a open mic by my house on Friday night. That was close to my house. I didn't have work or school the next day, so I started doing stand-up there, and it just took off. I couldn't stop.
So what was your experience with comedy before that?
I don't really know. I think I watched a lot of sitcoms. That's about it. I didn't think, up until that point, I think I was aware of stand-up, but I wasn't sure it was, or at least aware that it was anything you could do or anything that was as prevalent as it was. I thought maybe at that time there were 4 or 5 stand-up comics, and maybe they'd go do stand-up in theaters, and it didn't happen that often. It wasn't happening every night and every weekend in your town. I didn't think it was a whole world you can immerse yourself in.
And I'd probably have to agree with Emily there. Before the pandemic, my family had kind of started a tradition of going to live shows. And one of my best dates was at a late night open mic. And I looked at those comedians and I said, that couldn't be me. Yeah, occasionally I can pull some jokes and make people laugh, but going up to the mic and doing a set, I just can't. I'd get stage fright, literally, or I'd forget my jokes. I know that because if I had a joke book, it would definitely get lost. But why? Why couldn't I just do it?
Well, I'm going to just do a general search of female comedian history. The second video that popped up was this young, skinny white guy that video headlined "Watching Female Comedians Until I Laugh." And it had 3.1 million views.
Yeah. Kind of like what I was saying, women deal with these things in every aspect of their life. A female comedian I assume, doesn't face different challenges than a woman in a corporate environment. There's still some ingrained sexism there. I think just in a corporate environment, people know, to be on their best behavior or to couch it a little bit. When it comes to comedy, the amount of people who will come up to you after a show and be like, I normally don't think women are funny, but you were great. And it's wouldn't I prove that women are funny? But it's just me. It's not women being funny. Just me then? Okay.
Here's something that I found in my research. Page 56 of Female Comics Are New Entrepreneurs. So, institutional power dynamics pick and choose which identity to talk about and how to talk about it so that those in power can feel comfortable. All the while, this ignores the real multi-dimensional parts of ourselves that operate together. It ignores particularly bad oppressions people face, and it lets the media off the hook in the way they present different groups. Changing the underlying power dynamic is what is needed, and this can be done through comedic narratives when people are not reduced, problems are multidimensional, and privilege is acknowledged. Humor as a human activity crosses and double crosses many lines and boundaries, including those of gender. Female comics can disrupt those oppressive narratives, and they can return power to the powerless. They can embolden, so they must be silenced. Another book from my research, called The Girl in the Show, addresses this gendered segregation. They say it's right in the name. Think of it as the term lady doctor in reference to a medical professional that is a woman. That's a pretty offensive and rude way to refer to your doctor. So then it goes to say, why should we call women that are comedians female comics or female comedians? Especially since the terms for their counterparts are just comedian and comic. Well, it's because comedy's stuck. It's stuck in a routine, so to speak. The most basic part of comedy is the assumption of shared truth. You can make a ton of jokes if your shared truth is sexism. Oh my God, my wife nags me so much and she never wants to have sex with me. Ugh, my girlfriend gets so cranky when she's on her period and she eats so much. I had a girlfriend once that said she was a virgin, but that head was saying something else. Men can and will make jokes about women because of toxic masculinity and sexism, and also because that makes it easy. The countering to female empowerment in comedy is through reduction. First, they set the standards on what female comedians can or cannot do. But even then, it doesn't matter what the female comedian does. Some man will always think his opinion is more important than whatever the whole genre is supposed to be. If you're a female comedian doing a club gig, you're gonna be labeled as one of the girls. The book continues to say, club owners routinely offer no more than 2 performance slots in every show for the girls. And because all of the girls are presumed to make the same jokes, unspoken rules dictate that they must always be broken up. Buffered by male comics who, due to their genitalia alone, are presumed to have a much wider range of perspectives.
Female comics don't get enough credit. As a female comic, you have to have 4 times the amount of credits to headline. You're dealing with clubs that tell you women don't sell tickets, so we can't headline you, but you can open for this guy who's never been on TV, even though you've worked your ass off and you've done a bunch of television sets. You've got all the credits. They tell you need credits to headline. You work hard, you get all the credits, and then they have another reason why they can't headline you. Women have to deal with so much more stuff. There was even a club in Chicago that would say you can't put 2 women back to back in a show. So if I was featuring and a female headliner came in, they'd be like, Emily, you have to MC. They'd demote me and put a male feature in there because you couldn't have 2 women back to back. Yeah, there's so the endless string of, I'm sorry, you're turning this as shit female comics have to deal with is ridiculous. I respect any woman who has made it in this business so much and any woman who continues to do it. More power to them. I have no idea what it's like in the real world job-wise, but I assume women face many of these challenges in any working environment. I think just in comedy it's accepted a little more to be almost outwardly sexist. You don't have an HR department to answer to.
This was Emily's answer, along with a clear
no, without a doubt.
When I asked her if female comedians got the recognition they deserved, Emily describes what I could best sum up as male mediocrity.
And I distinctly remember even at my home club, they're like, yeah, we're going to headline you. And then he just kept pushing it back and pushing it back. And then it was headlining people who started after me, who worked there a shorter period of time than me, who didn't have any TV credit, who had less headlining experience than me. They were given the opportunity to go be a headliner. before me. And I was like, you told me this. You told me you were going to do this 8 months ago, and I'm still waiting. And I don't know. Yeah, you just like any part of the world. White males just, they just have to be mediocre to be given a chance. We're like, yeah, as a female, you have to be the best. Like, you have to be the absolute best. You can't have one show that's kind of needy. Like, you can't have, like, one joke not work and then ask, like, can I headline? Because I'm like, no, you're not ready. Yeah.
There's a quote from Girl in the Show that I think is actually kind of poetic. When we grasp how many other humorists have changed our world and how their histories can help us to change ourselves, they reached forward into the future, clasping our hands as we reach back. 1 billion amazing women most people will never know, who most of us will never even get the chance to know. It makes this fear, this sadness and guilt I have as a woman who knows how much impact and change these female comedians have had. I want to build on their legacy. I want to tell that to other people. I want to convey this beauty they have and this power they have that just gets ignored. I can't, and I won't say that I'm ignoring this history, but I don't know their names. But is that so bad? Because all I need to do to make change, to promote them, is to know that they exist, that they were there, that they gave us what we have now, that the people right now, the women that are working so hard, like Emily, to just get an inch in the game, on stage, have their voice heard, that is what is important. Making sure it continues and it continues to grow. And I touched on this with Emily.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's good that any woman with a microphone, with or without a microphone, talking about their experience, I mean, sets a tone, but like really like shows people that women are people. We're not this like feminine housewife thing. We are humans. We are gross. We have sex. We do all these things that like women are supposed, quote unquote, that traditional woman, like, yeah, women are a variety of things. And I think having women talk about anything on stage helps kind of, break up that traditional housewife role that so many people still think women are and should be. I remember getting as a side note though, I remember getting with my old manager getting in a fight about, and he said something about Amy Schumer because he was like, I know, like just based on the things you talk about, I'm pretty sure you don't like Amy Schumer just talking about sex all the time. Like he said something like that. I don't remember what it was, but I was like, actually, just the more sexual freedom, like that is granted to women within society, the more civil rights we end up having. Like the two go hand in hand. So I was like it or not, like her jokes or not, like she's doing a service for women, like opening up that door.
That sort of sexual liberation that Amy Schumer had to her comedy as a young girl in a Christian private high school, dealing with all the excruciating prudeness that came with that. Not to mention my own sexuality. At some point, my willingness to debate these kind of topics and that kind of sexist remarks about someone's liberal views. It ran out 8th grade of middle school. I wasn't, and I'm still not really a particular fan of Amy Schumer stuff. But that doesn't mean I don't acknowledge the big impact that Amy Schumer has had. And I'm not gonna lie, even though I'm not a fan of Amy Schumer, she's definitely influenced my life. I was just a girl, and I had to listen so many times to some man complaining about just Amy Schumer joking about her pussy and how much sex she has. And it's exhausting. And it was exhausting then, it's exhausting now, and I don't know how any woman deals with all that sexism that's directed to them, especially when they get to the top. I agree with Amy, and I say that any woman that has gotten far in comedy should be respected. And there's just something so fucking powerful about how much they've done. But it is honestly kind of funny how low the bar is. Because remember that shapewear ad that I mentioned Emily did? Yeah, we talked about that a bit.
I just realized that you created this ad for Shaper Mint that, had stuck with me for a long time. And now I know that it's you. And I'm like, wow, okay.
Oh, thank you. I am, out of all the things I've done, I am maybe the most proud of that ad because I knew it hit home. I felt like, I don't know. Yeah, it was a weird assignment because at first they're like, we want to sell shapewear that's feminist. I'm like, I don't know if that's possible.
I really loved your take where Venus says those, yes, women should love their bodies, but sometimes you need a little boost to get there. I thought that was a really good take for the product. If I had to say what a good example of a beauty product with body positivity would be, I definitely would have picked that one.
If I really had to say why that ad stuck with me so much, it was just that it was so different. In a good way. It's not like I hadn't seen body positive ads. There's a lot more ads that are body positive. But I will say that it just is a very shallow sort of activism. I guess I could best describe it as in the forefront of your brain, you're always sort of thinking about how they're selling you their product. And now, don't get me wrong, I know Shaper Mint was trying to sell me this product. The company, that's what they wanted. But the ad, how do I say this? The ad had this feel that it was sort of artist vision. Emily is going to be listening to this, so I hope I don't make her blush too much. Let's say that to me, the Shaper Mint shapewear was just a prop, and the ad was like a play. A very, very short play. There was something about seeing Venus, the goddess of love, be the same size as me, making a joke about her love handles. It made that part, that one moment that keeps ringing in my head, it made it feel like it was the most sincerest words I had ever heard from a stranger, let alone a beauty commercial. Women should love their bodies. And that's just a fact. Women should love themselves. Girls are more likely to have lower self-esteem and a more negative assessment of their physical traits and intellectual abilities. And no, I don't think it's just because women are inherently that way. I have to say that it's because of the sexist systems that we grow up in, where the smallest things that a woman does are nitpicked, and where you are asked the question, are women funny? Emily told me about the different sets that she usually has to have for different venues.
Yeah, I'm gonna be the decision you make at some point. And there are also, different sets you have for different situations is what you end up writing. Like if I go to a college, I have a completely different set than when I'm doing 45 on stage at Acme. If I'm in Oklahoma City, I'm not going to go as hard into the politics as I am if I'm in Madison, Wisconsin. You kind of play to the room and you kind of play to the feel. And at some point you just go, screw it, I don't care. I'm going to say what I want to say because this is what I'm feeling. But with the recognition that there might be consequences to that. Yeah, for me it was, I don't know, you just kind of stop trying to please everyone, and you're like, okay, these are the jokes I want to tell, and these are the things I want to tell, and if it doesn't go well, that's fine, and if you don't want to hire me, that's fine too. I'd rather work places that are supportive with what I'm doing and what I want to talk about, and want to help me grow as a comic and a person. That's kind of the decision you make at some point, because you can... Yeah, I think I always had a feminist slant to my comedy, even at the beginning, but I wasn't very super feminist on stage or talking about anti-abortion laws on stage or taking it to a really far level. Part of that is experience, and you can't tackle some subjects. You're just not good enough when you start out to be able to tackle taboo topics and make them funny or keep a crowd with you as you dive into something like that. So experience helps. For me, honestly, when Trump got elected, it felt really weird to go on stage and talk about cats. It just didn't seem right. It wasn't what you were feeling every day, and it wasn't true to who I was as a person. It's not what I was thinking about. I was like, oh, let me tell you dating cards. That's not what I was thinking about on a daily basis. So Trump's election really kind of shoved me more into a political realm, more than I ever intended to ever tackle. But then you realize you have some deep thoughts and feelings and frustrations on topics that when you share them and you really nail the emotion behind it, the connection you make with the audience is completely different. And it's, you're gonna hate this, or you're gonna love it. There's no light. You either hate me or you love me for what I'm saying. And the people who love it, and they're like, thank you for saying that. I'm glad someone's saying that. It's a different connection with the audience. And it is also kind of empowering to take something that angers you so much and make it funny. It just feels good to be like, this is why I think it's stupid, and let's laugh at it. That's a great feeling.
And there's that beautiful word again. Connection. Connecting so deeply with someone and just having fun with it. When women speak up about the tokenism, sexism, and toxic masculinity in comedy, their goal isn't just to be mean. They want to be like me. They just wanted to make people laugh. They realized that beauty and that power that came from just making someone laugh, laughing with someone. They were like me, someone who had to keep hearing that women were just not funny inherently. But what they've had to gone through is so much more than I've had to. They have to go up on that stage, and just getting there is already something that's been blocked for decades. There's been so many women that have probably had so many men just walk out of their life because they made a joke about themselves, a joke about their female experience. When Emily made that Shapermint ad, now that I kind of know her a bit from the interview, I want to say that she just made the ad her own. It wasn't an ad. Not really. It was a message. A message to any girl like me who just wanted to hear that you should love yourself.